Stranded with the Wolf by Lily Robert. Chapter 1. Rory doesn't understand how everything has gone wrong so fast. This morning she was living a dream, vacationing at a luxury resort with her perfect fiancé. Their suite overlooked turquoise waters, palm trees swaying in the breeze. Then came the 2 pink lines on the test, and for one perfect moment, her joy felt complete. Now she stands in the doorway of a private massage cabana, frozen. Because Martin, the love of her life, is naked on the massage table, tangled with a resort staff member. Rory's mouth opens, but no sound comes out. This can't be happening. Her fiancé cannot be cheating, just as Rory finds out she's pregnant. The woman sees her first, eyes widening as she scrambles off Martin, knocking over a bottle of massage oil that shatters on the floor. I'm sorry for barging in, Rory stammers, dazed. Her heart pounds so loudly she can barely think. Martin turns, startled, then sighs. His expression shifts to indulgent condescension, like he's humoring a child. Oh, Rory, baby, you were supposed to be at the beach all afternoon. Rory blinks. What is this? What are you doing? Come on, sweetheart. Martin sits up, reaching for his shorts without urgency. Don't make this into a thing. A thing? Her voice cracks. The staff member scrambles for her clothes, clearly wishing she could vanish. Babe, Martin slips into his smooth tone. I'm just blowing off steam. You know how stressed I've been with the merger. Rory stares, unable to reconcile what she's seeing with the man she thought she knew. The room feels unreal. But we're getting married in 3 months, she whispers. And I'm pregnant. Silence. The staffer freezes. Martin's smile falters for a second before snapping back in place. Pregnant? He stands and walks toward her, caution in his eyes. She steps back. You're not happy? It's not that. He puts his hands on her shoulders. But you know my thoughts on kids, right? We've talked about this. We said someday, Rory says. You said you weren't ready, but... No, sweetheart. Martin shakes his head. I said I don't want children. Remember? We agreed our lifestyle isn't compatible with kids. But we never said forever. Rory, his grip tightens. You do this sometimes. You hear what you want to hear. We've talked about that too, haven't we? A cold weight settles in her chest. Had she misheard? Misunderstood? Don't worry, he continues. We'll make an appointment when we get home, quick and easy. My assistant will take care of it. His casual dismissal cuts through her shock. This is our baby, Martin. I want this baby, she says, stepping away. His mask slips, irritation flashes, then vanishes. Rory, be reasonable. We're not having a kid. And why not? So you can be free to fool around? Rory gestures toward the staff member who hurries to leave. Martin laughs, breezy and confident. That's nothing. It doesn't mean anything. It means something to me. Tears well, but she blinks them back. Rory, baby. Martin moves to embrace her before she can retreat. His cologne, her Christmas gift, envelops her. I've never cheated on you. Not once. She stares. What does he mean, never? She just saw him. Still, for a moment, she almost believes him. She wants to. But when I walked in, 1 mistake in 3 years, it meant nothing. He strokes her hair. You know how much I love you. Martin cups Rory's face, earnest and rehearsed. Oh, baby. His voice drips with false sympathy. This is why I didn't tell you. You get so emotional about these little things. I promise you, this has never happened before. Never. It's the stress, the island. I made a mistake. His eyes search hers. Don't throw away everything over 1 mistake. She falters. The fear of being alone rises in her throat. She thinks of their apartment, the venue, the baby. I don't know, Martin. Let's talk tonight. He kisses her forehead. Meet me in our room at 7. We'll have dinner, talk through everything. His smile is confident. Okay? Okay, she hears herself say. That's my girl. He squeezes her hand. Get some rest. You look tired. He walks off without a glance back, crisis managed. Rory doesn't move. Her mind tells her to return to the suite, rest, pretend this can be salvaged. Martin loves her. They'll figure it out. Everything will be fine. But her body has other plans. She walks past the pools, the tennis courts, the honeymooners clinking glasses in the open-air restaurant. Fragments of panic flicker through her mind. The invitations just went out. What will I tell my parents? How can I raise a baby alone? It's fine, we're fine. Her hand clutches her purse, where the pregnancy test remains hidden, knuckles white. Down the stone steps, she reaches the private beach. Her sandals leave perfect prints in the sand. I should go back to the room, she thinks. Instead, her feet carry her farther toward the dock. At the end, a small motorboat bobs in the water. A tall man tends to it, irritation flashing in his eyes when she approaches. And in that moment, Rory knows one thing with certainty. I need to get off this island, she says, her voice steady. Now. Chapter 2. I need to get off this island, Rory announces, her voice steadier than she feels. Right now. The man at the dock barely reacts. He finishes coiling a rope, then glances up, brown eyes narrowing against the sun. Right. Well, good luck with that then, he mutters, turning back to his boat. Rory watches him untie the mooring rope with quick, practiced movements. As he pulls up the anchor, she climbs aboard, nearly toppling into the water. What do you think you're doing? He's at her side in a flash, scowling. Take off your shoes! I'm so sorry, Rory says quickly, slipping off her sandals. Thanks. Now get off my boat. Rory blinks, smile faltering. Oh, but I thought we were leaving now. We? He raises an eyebrow. There's no we. But you said you'd help me get off the island, she insists. He crosses his arms, lean muscle showing through his worn shirt. When did I ever say that? You said you wanted to get off. I said good luck. He gestures toward the dock. But aren't you leaving anyway? Rory asks, motioning to his preparations. He just glares. Great, she clasps her hands. Then I'll come with you. It's a one-person boat, he snaps. Her frustration boils over. After today, the pregnancy test, Martin's betrayal, she's done being dismissed. You won't even notice I'm here, she says, sitting down. Get off. A shout interrupts. 3 men in dark suits run toward them from the resort. Sawyer! The lead man yells. We need to talk to you. Sawyer goes rigid. His eyes flick to the men, then to the water. Without a word, he lunges for the wheel and jams the key into the ignition. You know them? Rory asks, though his clenched jaw says enough. The engine roars. The men break into a sprint. Wait, Rory says. They seem pretty determined to catch you. Sawyer shoves the throttle forward. The boat surges away just as the men reach the dock. This isn't over, the lead one shouts. We know what you did. Rory's eyes widen. Are those police? Are you in some kind of trouble? Sawyer's knuckles whiten on the wheel. The boat picks up speed. Seriously, Rory presses. Who are those men? What do they want with you? The dock disappears behind them. More people gather on shore. Security? Rory swallows a mix of relief and dread. That's incredibly rude, she mutters, and slightly concerning if I'm being honest. Sawyer doesn't respond, eyes fixed on the rearview mirror until the island is no more than a distant line. Dark clouds loom ahead, purple light staining the horizon. Rory hadn't noticed them until now. She's pregnant, alone, on a boat with a stranger heading into a storm. You're not much of a talker, are you, sir? She asks, trying to fill the silence. Sawyer glances sideways. Do you ever shut up? She snaps her mouth shut, stung. She's used to being liked. Agreeable Rory. Everyone likes her, everyone but Martin, and now this stranger. Memories flood in. Martin in bed with the staff member, his indifference, the baby. "Where are we going?" she asks, voice too high. "Off the island," Sawyer says, as requested. She looks at the endless ocean. There's an entire world off this island. "You don't say," he mutters, adjusting their course. Panic builds. No plan, no luggage, no confrontation, no closure. Her foot stomps before she can stop it. "I demand to know where we're going." Sawyer turns, amused. "Oh, I don't think you quite understand, sweetheart. This is my boat. You don't get to make demands." She opens her mouth to respond, then thunder cracks overhead. The storm rushes toward them. Rain lashes down. Wind whips her hair across her face. Waves rise fast. "What was that?" Rory asks, already knowing. Sawyer says nothing, jaw tight, eyes on the storm. Another boom. The boat crashes over waves that slam Rory's teeth together. "Maybe we should go back," she says, voice shaking. "It'll be fine," Sawyer mutters, though his grip tightens. The sky breaks open. Within seconds, she's soaked, shivering in her clinging sundress. The boat climbs a wave and crashes down. Rory's stomach flips. "I think I'm going to be sick," she gasps, stumbling toward the side. "Don't you dare go overboard," Sawyer yells, barely audible over the wind. Rory vomits, then slips, fingers sliding off the slick railing. For a heartbeat, she's falling. A hand grabs her wrist, yanks her back. Sawyer's face looms over her, rain-slicked and furious. "I told you to be careful," he shouts. "I'm sorry," she yells back, unsure what for. He hauls her toward the wheel, one hand never leaving her arm. "We need to turn back," he says. "Storm's too strong." Rory nods, more than ready to retreat, Martin or not. Sawyer spins the wheel. The boat groans as it struggles against the waves. She clutches his arm, digging in. They begin to turn. For a brief, hopeful moment, it seems they might make it. The boat turns slowly, straining against the current. Sawyer's face shows the first hint of relief. Then Rory sees the wall of water, massive, racing toward them. "Sawyer!" she screams, pointing. His eyes widen. He grabs her waist, pulling her tight. "Hold on to me," he growls into her ear. "Don't let go." Rory wraps her arms around his solid frame just as the wave hits. The boat rises. Rory's feet leave the deck as gravity loses its hold. For a suspended moment, they hang there. And then the boat flips, tossing them into the raging sea. The impact knocks the breath from Rory's lungs, the cold water filling her nose as her flailing arms lose their grip on Sawyer. Something solid slams into her back. Rory's last coherent thought is of the tiny life inside her. "I'm sorry," she thinks. Then darkness closes in. Chapter 3. Sunlight burns against Rory's eyelids and something rough scratches her cheek. Sand? Opening her eyes, Rory winces at the brightness. Paradise stretches before her. Pristine white sand, crystal turquoise water, palm trees swaying in a gentle breeze. "Hello?" Her voice comes out as a rasp. Rory struggles to sit up, every muscle protesting. "Is anyone there?" The only response is the rhythmic sound of the ocean and distant bird calls. Panic begins to rise in her chest when she spots a figure sprawled face down on the sand about 20 feet away. "Sawyer!" Ignoring her body's complaints, Rory scrambles over to him. Dark hair plastered to his head, clothes torn and sand-crusted. Her hands hover uncertainly over his back. "Sawyer, can you hear me?" Her voice rises with each word. "Help! Somebody! We need help over here!" Sawyer's eyes snap open, squinting against the sun. "Stop yelling," he groans. Rory sits back on her heels. "Oh, thank God you're alive." God had nothing to do with it. He grimaces, pushing himself up to a sitting position. "We need to get help," Rory says, glancing around the deserted beach for signs of life. Sawyer gives her a look that suggests she might be simple. "Help? From whom? This is a deserted island." Rory's mind blanks at the term deserted. She doesn't like that word, nor what it implies. How do you know that? She challenges, crossing her arms. Sawyer gestures around them with a sweep of his arm. Because I have eyes. But I woke up earlier, he cuts her off. Our boat's wrecked about a half-mile down the beach. No radio, no working engine. I salvaged what I could, a flare gun, some water bottles, a first aid kit. He nods toward a small pile of supplies nearby. Not that it matters. There's nothing but ocean for at least 50 miles in every direction. Rory stares at him, processing this information. You woke up earlier, and then you just decided to take a nap here? Well, excuse me, but someone's been keeping busy swimming both of us to shore during a storm. Oh, the implication sinks in. You saved my life? He shrugs, looking away. The gesture is so dismissive of what must have been a tremendous effort that Rory feels a sudden, unexpected rush of warmth toward this grumpy stranger. Well, thank you, she says sincerely. She rises to her feet, extending her hand to help him up. I think we got off on the wrong foot, you and I. I'm Rory Sinclair. Sawyer stares as if she's offering him a dead fish. We need to look for help, Rory encourages. There could be people on the other side of the island, or a shelter, or... Are you deaf? Sawyer interrupts. I just told you this is a deserted island. But there has to be someone who can help. Panic edges into her voice. How are we going to go home if we can't call for help? Sawyer just blinks at her. How are we going to go home, Sawyer? She repeats, taking a step toward him. Just be grateful you're alive. Alive. Rory's hand instinctively moves to her still flat stomach. She's alive, but what about her baby? I'm going to find help, she announces, squaring her shoulders. Sawyer pinches the bridge of his nose tiredly. There is no help, he snaps. I'm telling you. And I'm telling you we can't give up hope, Rory interrupts. Who knows? Just beyond this jungle there could be a beautiful resort. There's not, Sawyer snaps. The finality in his tone is infuriating. Are you always this defeatist? Rory asks. I'm realistic. Fine. Rory drops his arm. Stay here. I'm going to look for help, and when I find some and get to shower and change long before you do, someone's going to feel plenty stupid. A ghost of a smile touches Sawyer's lips. Oh, someone will definitely feel stupid, and that's not going to be me. Rory feels heat rising to her cheeks. You know you could try being a little nicer. Being delusional isn't being nice, sweetheart, Sawyer retorts. It's just wasting time. Something snaps inside Rory. Maybe it's the stress of the shipwreck, or the lingering shock of Martin's betrayal, or the fear for her unborn child. But suddenly, she's shouting. Kindness is never a waste of time. And besides, we're stuck on an island. We have all the time in the world, you big jerk. The words echo across the empty beach, Sawyer's expression unchanging. It makes Rory want to shake him. She doesn't. Instead, she turns on her heel and marches away from him, toward the line of trees that marks the edge of the beach. Don't go into the jungle alone. She hears Sawyer call out from behind her. You'll get lost. Watch me, she yells back, not slowing her pace. Rory plunges into the dense foliage, determined to prove him wrong, and trying desperately to outrun the growing fear that he might be right. Chapter 4. Fury propels Rory through the jungle. Stupid, arrogant man, she mutters, stomping along a barely there path. Would it kill him to be a little optimistic? Branches whip her arms as she charges deeper into the island's interior. Never has she met someone so aggravating. It's like he's allergic to basic human decency. Was he raised in a barn? Half an hour later, her pace slows. Reality sets in. She has no idea where she's going. The jungle thickens, filled with unfamiliar plants and eerie sounds. Are there wild animals here? The thought halts her. Dressed in a sundress, barefoot, she suddenly feels very small. Hello? She calls. Silence answers, chirping birds, rustling leaves. Maybe storming off wasn't her best idea. Then the sound of rushing water reaches her. Parched, she pushes through vines and gasps. A crystal-clear lagoon stretches before her, fed by a waterfall tumbling from rocks above. "Oh my God," she whispers. Sunlight filters through the canopy, sparkling on the surface. She rushes forward, scooping water into her hands. It's cool, sweet, miraculous. She splashes her face, washing off salt and sand. "Thank you," she breathes. At least something's going right today. She hopes the water's safe. It has to be. Bigger problems loom, like getting back before dark. With new resolve, Rory sets off, retracing what she thinks is her path. But time slips by. The sun sinks. Landmarks blur. "I'm lost," she admits, heart pounding. Panic rises, pregnant, stranded, alone. Then, movement behind her. She freezes. "Hello?" Her voice is barely a whisper. Leaves rustle. Rory backs away, searching for anything, shelter, a weapon. The foliage parts. A massive black wolf steps into view. It's huge, silver-tipped fur gleaming in the fading light, golden eyes locked on hers, alert, intelligent, almost human. "Nice wolf," she whispers, inching back. "Good wolf, don't eat me." But the wolf simply sits, watching. No growling, no teeth, just calm, unnerving stillness. "You're not going to attack me?" she asks. It tilts its head. Something in its gaze reminds her, bizarrely, of Sawyer. She lets out a shaky laugh. "I must be losing my mind. I'm talking to a wolf now." The wolf doesn't move. "You know," she says, relieved just to speak aloud, "this has been the worst day of my life. First, I find out I'm pregnant. Then I catch my fiancé cheating. He wasn't even excited about the baby." The wolf's ears twitch. "So I ran. Got on a boat with a complete, self-absorbed jerk. He saved my life." She pauses. "But he's still a jerk." She slides to the ground, comforted by the wolf's presence. "And now I'm lost in a jungle, talking to a wolf with no clue how to get back." Her voice cracks. The wolf rises and approaches slowly, nudging her hand with its muzzle before stepping back, looking toward the trees. "Do you want me to follow you?" It walks a few paces, then glances back. "This is insane," Rory mutters, getting up anyway. The wolf leads, pausing now and then to check on her. At one point, it paws at a low branch heavy with yellow fruit. "Are those edible?" The wolf huffs softly. "If I die from eating mystery fruit a wolf showed me, that'd be a fitting end," she says, picking one anyway. It's sweet and tangy, instantly refreshing. "Thank you," she says. The wolf just watches, eyes oddly knowing. As night falls, firelight glows ahead, her camp. Driftwood stacked, supplies arranged. No sign of Sawyer, but he's been here. "You did it," she whispers. "You got me back." The wolf sits at the edge of the jungle, silent. "Thank you," she says again sincerely. "I don't know why you helped me, but thank you." It blinks once, then slips into the darkness without a sound. Chapter 5. Rory wakes to the smell of smoke and something cooking. Sawyer crouches by the fire, turning what looks like fish on a makeshift spit. "You came back," she says, stretching. "It's my campfire," he replied. Rory attempts a smile. "Aren't you curious about how I found my way back to the beach yesterday?" she asks. A wolf guided me." She expects, if not a full-on gasp, at least a small raise of eyebrow. But Sawyer just gives a sideway glance and says nothing, like a wild wolf guiding her to the jungle is just an everyday occurrence. "There really was a wolf, here on the island, and it didn't attack," Rory insists. Sawyer sighs. "Or maybe you were so dehydrated you hallucinated the wolf?" "I didn't," Rory snaps. "I'd found a lagoon and drank water by then. It's about 30 minutes that way." She points toward the jungle. Sawyer doesn't look up from the fish. "And did you see anyone on your way?" he asks. "No," Rory admits quietly. I don't think there's anybody else around. You don't say. The man sounds so smug it makes Rory want to stomp her feet again. Well, we can't be sure, she argues. Not until we've explored the island entirely. Been there, done that, sweetheart. And then, 3 days pass in much the same pattern, the two of them working side by side, and always ending up arguing. Let's build our shelter here, closer to the trees for shade, Rory says, pointing to a spot near the jungle's edge. And farther from the beach where we could see rescue boats? Sawyer counters. Do you have to argue with literally everything I say? Only when you're wrong, Sawyer says. So yes. The shelter comes together slowly. A crude A-frame structure with a palm-thatched roof. It's barely big enough for 2 people, ensuring their sleeping arrangements remain uncomfortably close despite their mutual animosity. Each night they retreat to opposite sides of the small space, backs turned to each other. And each dawn, Rory notices Sawyer disappearing into the jungle, returning hours later with no explanation. Once, she wakes to find him gone and follows his footprints along the beach until they mysteriously end at the jungle's edge. And next to the path she finds clothes, Sawyer's clothes, like he'd just left them there. She doesn't dare ask what he is up to. By the 7th day, their shelter is nearly complete. The roof needs reinforcing before the next rainfall, and they need more fresh water. I'll show you where the lagoon is, Rory offers. Sawyer considers for a moment, then nods. They set out with makeshift water containers, coconut shells and a cracked plastic container salvaged from the wreckage. The morning is already sweltering, humidity clinging to their skin. So, Rory begins, you never told me what you were doing at the resort. Why would I tell you? Sawyer sighs. Did I ask you what you were doing at the resort? Oh, Rory perks up. Well, I was on holiday with my... That was a rhetorical question, Sawyer interrupts. Rory pouts. Well, this isn't rhetorical, she retorts. Why were these guys chasing after you on the docks that day? Sawyer's jaw tightens, but he keeps silent. Were you hiding from someone? Rory insists. Running from the law? Drop it, Sawyer snaps. We're stuck here together. I think I deserve to know. You don't deserve shit, Sawyer snaps. You forced your way onto my boat. Everything that's happened to you since is on you, not me. Rory storms ahead, clenching her fists in fury, like she'd planned to get shipwrecked on an island with the world's most antisocial man. He's not wrong, though. She'd fled the resort with no luggage and no plan because she'd felt as though if she didn't do it in that very moment, she wouldn't have the courage to. She's so caught up in her thoughts that she doesn't notice the change in terrain until it's too late. One step, solid ground, and the next, her foot sinks into something soft. Sawyer? She calls, surprised. No response. He must have fallen behind. Another step, and she sinks deeper, the ground now swallowing her up to her calves. Oh, God, she realizes. Quicksand. She's just stepped into quicksand. Sawyer! Her voice rises with fear. Come quick, help. She tries to pull her legs free, but only sinks deeper into the muck. Now it's at her knees. Don't move. Sawyer's voice comes from behind her, tight with tension. I'm serious, Rory. Stop struggling. I'm sinking, she protests. The quicksand reaches her waist, cold and suffocating. I can see that. Sawyer appears at the edge of the pit. But you need to keep still. Rory shakes her head, unable to process his words much in her panic. Get me out, she screeches. Tears spring to her eyes as she feels the sand pulling her inexorably downward. I will, Sawyer snaps, but you need to stop thrashing around. I can't. Terror steals her breath as the quicksand reaches the bottom of her ribs. Look at me. Sawyer's voice cuts through her panic. Rory, look at me. She forces herself to meet his eyes. The usual annoyance is gone, replaced by something intense and determined. I'm going to get you out. but you need to trust me. Can you do that? Rory hesitates for a beat, then nods. Good. Now lean back slowly. What? Rory exclaims. Screw trusting him, the guy's insane. Try to float on your back, Sawyer insists. I'll sink, Rory whines. No, you'll float if you distribute your weight. The sand is denser than water. Do it, Rory. Something in his voice, a certainty, a strength, compels her to obey. Slowly, she leans back until she's half floating on the surface of the quicksand. The sinking slows. Good, Sawyer says, stretching out on his stomach at the edge of the pit. He extends a long branch toward her. Now grab this and hold tight. Sawyer begins to pull, so slowly it's almost imperceptible. The quicksand reluctantly relinquishes its hold, inch by agonizing inch. When Rory's close enough, he reaches for her arms, his powerful hands closing around her wrists. With one mighty heave, he pulls her free, the momentum sending them both tumbling backward. They land in a tangle of limbs, Rory half on top of him, both panting from exertion and fear. Overwhelmed, Rory wraps her arms around him, burying her face against his chest. I was so scared, I thought... A sob catches in her throat. If you hadn't been here... Sawyer goes rigid at the embrace, but after a moment his hand comes up to pat her back awkwardly. Sorry, Rory says, wiping tears from her cheeks. Thank you. She holds on a moment longer, savoring the solid, real presence of another human being after so many days of emotional isolation. Chapter 6. The quicksand incident changes something between them. Not dramatically. Sawyer still scowls more than he smiles when Rory fills silences with cheerful chatter, but the edge of hostility dulls. The roof leaks, Rory points out after a sudden rainfall leaves them both damp. I'm aware, Sawyer sighs. I read somewhere, Rory begins, that if you layer the palm fronds in an overlapping pattern, starting from the bottom... You read about desert island survival in your spare time? Sawyer interrupts. National Geographic, she admits with a half-smile. I had a subscription. To her surprise, Sawyer doesn't dismiss her suggestion. Show me, he says instead. Working side by side, they rebuild the roof, and when the next rain comes 2 days later, they stay dry. Not bad, bookworm, Sawyer concedes, and Rory feels an absurd flutter of pride. Week 3 brings a successful fishing expedition. Rory watches in fascination as Sawyer fashions a spear from a straight branch, sharpened against a rock. How did you learn to do all this? She asks, following him into the shallows. Boy Scouts, he deadpans. She mimics his stance, spear poised above the water. Like this? Lower and be still. Fish can sense the movement. Her first attempts are comically bad. She stumbles, splashes, and manages to scare away every fish within 20 feet. Sawyer watches with what looks suspiciously like amusement. He repositions her hands on the spear, shows her how to account for the water's refraction. And when she finally spears a modest-sized fish, his not bad feels like high praise. Progress. We need a signal fire plan, Sawyer says one morning, surveying the beach. Something ready to light if boats pass. Rory's heart leaps at the mention of rescue. You think someone might come looking? I don't know, he admits. To be honest, I think it's worrying no one has come for us yet. Rory frowns at that. What do you mean? Surely people are looking as we speak. Sawyer gives her a cautious look. People are looking for me, he admits. But they know very well I don't want to be found. Perhaps they've given up? And you mentioned getting into a fight with your fiancé before leaving the resort. Rory frowns. She doesn't remember mentioning that to him. Then again, she talks a lot. She might have let it slip. And more urgently, she suddenly realizes what Sawyer is implying. You think Martin will assume I left him and won't think of signaling me missing? She realizes throat tight. Could take him a while to do so, yes, Sawyer admits. And by then, will he even realize when or how you disappeared? Could take a while for a search party to be sent, if ever. Our best chance is to count on random boats passing by and signaling them. They build a pyre on the highest point of beach, gathering materials that will create thick black smoke, green leaves, rubber from the boat wreckage. Sawyer shows her how to start a fire with the limited tools they have. "Keep practicing," he tells her. "If you see a boat while I'm not here, don't wait for me." The implication that he might be gone when rescue comes disturbs her more than she expects. She thinks of how he always disappears for hours in the very early morning and worries. "Where do you even go?" she asks that night. "In the mornings, I mean." He doesn't reply. Yet sometimes when Sawyer disappears at dawn, Rory can't shake the feeling of being watched. Once, while washing clothes at the lagoon, she spots a flash of black between the trees, a shape eerily similar to the wolf that guided her back to the beach that first week. "Hello?" she calls. "Are you there?" Nothing but birdsong answers her. 1 month into their isolation, Rory realizes something that fills her with both relief and renewed anxiety. She hasn't had her period. The baby is holding on, despite their harsh circumstances. She places a hand on her still flat stomach while Sawyer is off on one of his morning disappearances. "We're going to be okay," she whispers. "Somehow." As she walks back to camp, that familiar prickling sensation returns. She turns, catching a glimpse of something large and dark retreating into the undergrowth. "I know you're there," she calls out. The jungle remains still, but Rory is certain now. The wolf is real, not a hallucination born of stress and fear as she'd begun to wonder. And that raises more questions than answers. Wolves don't live on Caribbean islands, certainly not alone. How did it get here? And why does it seem to be following her? More pressing than the wolf, though, is how her body struggles with the pregnancy and their harsh conditions. Morning sickness hits her hard, until one day Sawyer returns from one of his excursions and silently places a gnarled root beside her. "What's this?" she asks. "Ginger, chew it, it helps with nausea." Rory stares at him, the implications sinking in. "How did you know?" she asks softly. "Just take the ginger," Sawyer says. Days blend into a routine. They wake at dawn. Sawyer is often already gone. One afternoon, while arranging their meager supplies, Rory builds up the courage to ask, "Have you seen the wolf around?" Sawyer's hands freeze momentarily, which Rory interprets as possibly. "It's big and black with golden eyes," she insists. "I didn't hallucinate. It's still there, Sawyer." He turns to face her, expression carefully neutral. "There are no wolves in the Caribbean," he says, making Rory narrow her eyes. He's hiding something, but why would he even lie about not seeing the wolf if he has? Is he trying to reassure her? The more time they spend together, working, surviving, slowly learning to trust each other, the more Rory wonders about his past, because it's obvious it weighs on him. The way his expression darkens sometimes when he stares at the horizon, how he tenses at unexpected sounds from the jungle. A week later, as they sit by the fire eating dinner, Rory gathers her courage. "Did you break the law?" Sawyer's head snaps up, his eyes meeting hers across the flames. "Why do you ask?" "Those men at the resort. They weren't just looking for you." She keeps her voice gentle. "You've been running from them, haven't you?" He studies her for a long moment before finally giving a single, reluctant nod. "You're going to ask me what I've done?" Sawyer says finally, his voice rough. Rory considers this. A month ago, she might have demanded answers, insisted on knowing exactly what kind of person she was stranded with. But now she knows Sawyer in ways that go beyond words or explanations. "Do you want to tell me what you've done?" she asks softly. "No," Sawyer admits quietly. And so Rory resumes eating with a shrug. "That's it?" Sawyer asks after a beat. "Aren't you worried about what I might have done?" Rory looks up. "No," she says simply, with complete sincerity. Sawyer searches her face, brows furrowed. Then his shoulders relax slightly. Something has shifted. The island remains unchanged, isolated, dangerous, a prison of palm trees and endless ocean. But it no longer feels quite so hopeless. Not when faced together. Chapter 7. Dusk settles over the island, painting the sky in deepening shades of orange and purple as Rory gathers firewood at the jungle's edge. Sawyer had disappeared hours ago on one of his mysterious excursions, leaving her to handle the evening preparations alone. Just once it would be nice if he'd tell me where he's going, she mutters, bending to pick up another stick. A soft, dry rustling freezes her mid-motion. There's a snake slithering across the fallen leaves. Its diamond-patterned scales catch the fading light, yellow-brown against the forest floor. Rory's breath catches in her throat. She's no expert, but everything about it screams venomous. Carefully, she straightens. "Easy," she whispers. "Just stay calm." The snake's tongue flickers out, tasting the air. Rory takes one slow step backward, then another. The branch beneath her foot snaps with a crack that seems deafening in the tense silence. The snake coils instantly, its body forming tight, muscular loops. Rory freezes again, heart hammering against her ribs. If it strikes... A black blur explodes from the undergrowth, hurtling toward her with startling speed. Rory stumbles backward, dropping her gathered firewood in shock. The massive black wolf, her wolf, leaps between her and the snake, a growl rumbling from deep in its chest. The snake strikes with lightning speed, its fangs sinking deep into the wolf's foreleg. A high-pitched yelp cuts through the evening air. The wolf shakes its leg violently, flinging the snake against a nearby tree trunk with enough force to stun it. Without hesitation, it pounces, finishing the reptile with a single bite to its neck. "Oh my God," Rory breathes, taking a step toward the wolf. "You saved me again." The wolf turns to her, golden eyes clouded with pain. "You're hurt." Rory approaches slowly, her fear of the massive predator long since replaced by something like trust. "We need to get you back to the shelter." The wolf looks up at her, then back toward the jungle, as if contemplating retreat. "Please," Rory says, her voice breaking slightly, "let me help you." After a long moment, the wolf struggles to its feet, swaying slightly. "That's it. Good. Wolf." Rory reaches out tentatively, touching the thick fur at its neck. "We need to clean that wound." Guiding an injured wolf through the jungle proves challenging. The creature is clearly in pain, its steps becoming increasingly unsteady. By the time they reach the shelter, twilight has faded to true darkness, and the wolf's breathing has grown labored. "Lie down," Rory instructs, hastily lighting the fire. "I need to see how bad it is." To her surprise, the wolf obeys, collapsing onto the sand with a whimper that tugs at her heart. She brings water and cloth, gently cleaning the puncture wounds on the wolf's foreleg. Already, the limb is swelling, hot to the touch. "I don't know what kind of snake that was, but it's definitely venomous," she says, trying to keep her voice calm despite her worry. She continues cleaning the wound, murmuring reassurances. The wolf's massive head eventually comes to rest on her lap, its body trembling slightly. "You're going to be okay," she promises, stroking the silky black fur. "I won't leave you." The wolf's golden eyes fix on hers. For a moment, she feels as if she's looking at someone familiar. Then the wolf convulses, a violent shudder running through its powerful frame. "What's happening?" Rory gasps, instinctively tightening her hold on the creature. Fur recedes into skin, limbs elongate, the entire skeletal structure shifting with audible cracks that make her stomach turn. She scrambles backward, a scream tearing from her throat as the impossible transformation completes. Where the wolf had been, Sawyer now lies naked on the sand, his body curled in pain, breathing ragged. "Sawyer?" she whispers, her mind unable to process what she's just witnessed. His eyes, the same golden eyes she'd been looking into moments before, flutter open. You're the wolf," Rory murmurs. He nods, wincing with the movement. "Don't tell anyone." A hysterical laugh bubbles up in Rory's throat. Who would I tell? We're on a deserted island. Good point, Sawyer mumbles, eyelids drooping. The shock of his transformation momentarily distracts her from the more immediate problem, but the angry red swelling of his arm snaps her back to reality. Sawyer, you've been poisoned. Panic edges into her voice as she reaches for him, pressing her palm to his forehead. He's burning with fever already. It's fine, he slurs, eyes closing. Don't worry, it'll heal. What do you mean it'll heal? Sawyer, this is serious. She shakes his shoulder, fear gripping her heart. Just need sleep, he mutters. Shift your metabolism. His words dissolve into incoherent mumbling. Rory quickly covers him with their blanket, mind racing. None of it makes sense, but the immediate danger trumps her confusion. Sawyer's breathing has grown shallow, his skin alternating between burning hot and clammy cold. She bathes his forehead with cool water, forces sips of water between his parched lips, and cleans the wound repeatedly, though it seems to worsen by the hour. He punctures have turned an angry purple, with red streaks beginning to extend up his arm. Don't you dare die on me, she whispers fiercely. I can't do this alone, Sawyer. I can't have this baby alone on this island. His only response is delirious muttering. Camilla, he moans. I'm sorry, Camilla, so sorry. Rory's heart twists at the raw pain in his voice. Whoever Camilla is or was, she clearly meant everything to him. A day passes, then another. Rory barely sleeps, constantly checking Sawyer's pulse, his breathing, the state of his wound. By sunset, something strange begins to happen. The angry purple of the bite starts to fade at the edges, the swelling minutely reduced. Rory blinks, certain she's hallucinating from exhaustion, but when she checks again an hour later, the improvement is undeniable. Hope flickers to life in her chest, but she dares not embrace it fully. Not yet. Not until those golden eyes open again and look at her with recognition, rather than fever-glazed confusion. Outside, the waves crash against the shore, their rhythm unchanging despite the revelations that have turned her world upside down. Sawyer continues to sleep, healing or dying, she cannot tell. Chapter 8. The first rays of dawn filter through the shelter's gaps when Rory feels it, a change in Sawyer's breathing against her palm. She'd fallen asleep with her hand resting on his chest, needing the reassurance of each rise and fall. Now the rhythm shifts, quickens. Her eyes fly open to find his already watching her, golden brown and clear for the first time in days. The fever glaze is gone, replaced by something warm and wondering. You're here, he whispers, voice rough from disuse. Where else would I be? Rory's own voice catches as relief floods through her. Without thinking, she reaches out to brush sweat-dampened hair from his forehead, her fingers lingering against his skin. How do you feel? Sawyer captures her hand before she can withdraw it. I'm fine, he whispers, squeezing her fingers. I was never in danger. Their gazes hold, and Rory is suddenly, acutely aware of how close they are, her body curved toward his beneath their shared blanket. She spent 3 days watching him fight for his life, memorizing every line of his face, and now that face is watching her back with an expression she's never seen before. You saved me again, she murmurs. That snake would have killed me. Sawyer attempts to sit up, wincing with the effort. How long was I out? He asks softly. Almost 3 days. Rory reaches for the water container nearby, bringing it to his lips. I thought I might lose you. The simple admission costs her more than she expected. And Sawyer's thumb gently wiping away a tear she hadn't realized had fallen. I'm harder to kill than that, he assures her. I told you I would heal. Your wound, Rory manages, trying to regain composure. It's almost gone. That's not normal. Sawyer's expression softens. His hand slides from her cheek to rest at the nape of her neck, keeping her close as if afraid she might pull away from what comes next. No, he agrees quietly. It's not for humans anyway. The confession hangs in the air between them, waiting for her reaction. Rory takes a deep breath, steadying herself. The wolf, she says. All this time it was you. It's not a question, but Sawyer nods anyway, his fingers tensing slightly against her skin. Yes. Rory's mind fills with images. The wolf guiding her back to the beach, the strange sensation of being watched when Sawyer was gone. Why didn't you tell me? She asks. His thumb traces a small circle at the base of her skull. We're not supposed to reveal our abilities to humans, he says, looking slightly apologetic. Who's we? Rory asks. What are you exactly? A werewolf? This draws a genuine chuckle from him. A shifter, he corrects. I was born this way. It's what I am, not something that happened to me. Rory's free hand reaches out tentatively, tracing the barely visible scar where the snake's fangs had pierced his skin. You said you were never in danger, she comments, trying to make sense of things. My metabolism is different, Sawyer explains. Faster, stronger, we heal quickly. Rory looks up, meeting his eyes. And so there are more like you? Something like caution flickers across his face. Yes, we live in packs mostly, or tend to. He adds, looking away. The men at the resort, Rory realizes suddenly. Were they? Some of them, Sawyer confirms. The others were federal agents. Why were they chasing you? Their eyes meet, and something in Sawyer seems to yield. I was the alpha of my pack, he begins, voice low and intimate. The leader, if you will. And as such, I also had a human life. I ran a company, a big one, until one day I couldn't. Couldn't? Rory parrots, confused. Wouldn't, Sawyer admits, so I left. Rory blinks, processing this. And they want you to go back? She asks. Against your will? Yes, he murmurs, for financial reasons? Rory senses there's much more to the story, depths of pain and complication he's not ready to share. But the trust in this partial confession feels like a precious gift, nonetheless. You're safe here, she whispers, the words a promise she has no right to make. Sawyer's eyes search hers, and whatever he sees there seems to reassure him. Rory's heart skips a beat as his hand slides into her hair and their foreheads touch, breath mingling in the narrow space between them. Their lips are so close she can almost taste a kiss she hadn't realized, until now, how much she'd yearned for. But then, memories of Sawyer's fevered state, his troubled murmurs, come back to her and... What about Camilla? She can't help but ask. Sawyer freezes, looking stunned for a second, and then upset. How do you know that name? He asks, turning away. You called for her, she explains gently, when you were delirious with fever. Sawyer's expression hardens in an instant, as if a door has slammed shut between them. Camilla is dead, he says flatly. Rory winces internally. She shouldn't have asked. I'm sorry, she whispers. I didn't mean to. It's not your fault. He struggles to his feet. I need some air. Wait, Sawyer. Rory's fingers brush his wrist. For a moment, he looks back at her, and Rory glimpses the raw pain beneath his composed exterior. Then he's gone, moving slowly but purposefully toward the jungle's edge. Chapter 9. The following day, Rory finds herself watching the muscles in Sawyer's back as he chops wood, the way sweat traces the contours of his shoulders, disappearing beneath his tattered shirt. Something has changed, a barrier broken. Now, every glance carries weight, every accidental touch lingers a heartbeat too long. When he straightens, nostrils flaring, a low rumble thrums in his chest, and as Rory reminds herself he is part wolf, her cheeks flushed with heat that has nothing to do with the tropical sun. At night they lie mere inches apart, close enough that Rory can feel the warmth radiating from his body. You're restless tonight, Sawyer murmurs in the darkness. Just thinking, she replies, grateful he can't see her blush. About? About how your hands would feel on my skin, she thinks. About the taste of your mouth. About whether you'd be gentle or fierce or both. Home, she says instead. There's a beat of silence, and then, "Do you miss him?" Sawyer asks quietly. "Who?" Rory frowns. "Your fiancé." The word sounds strange now, distant as another life. "He isn't my fiancé anymore," she corrects. "Are you sure about that?" There's something in Sawyer's tone. A careful neutrality that doesn't quite mask the tension beneath. Rory turns on her side to face him. "I caught him cheating on me," she says. "It's over." "But you didn't tell him that," Sawyer persists. "You just ran." The observation strikes uncomfortably close to truth. By day, they orbit in a slow, deliberate dance. When Rory wades from the lagoon, Sawyer's gaze trails every bead of water down her body. His casual touches, a palm at the small of her back, knuckles brushing hers over a water jug, spark along her skin. At dusk, he kneels behind her to teach palm frond weaving, chest a furnace to her spine, breath stroking her nape. "Like this," he murmurs, his voice low near her ear as he guides her fingers. Rory can barely focus on the weaving. All she feels is the solid warmth of him, the slight roughness of his calloused hands over hers, the way his breath stirs tendrils of hair at her temple. She inadvertently leans back against him. She feels his sharp intake of breath, the momentary tightening of his arms around her. "You're a quick learner," he says, but doesn't move away. She turns her head slightly, bringing their faces close enough that she can see the golden flecks in his eyes. For a breathless moment, she thinks he might close the distance between them. "We should get some sleep," he says instead. "Early start tomorrow." And then, one night, Rory wakes to the sound of restless movement. Sawyer paces at the shelter's entrance, his powerful frame silhouetted against the moonlight. "What's wrong?" she asks. He freezes at the sound, his back to her, shoulders rigid. "Go back to sleep, Rory." Instead, she rises, drawn to him by some instinct deeper than thought. As she approaches, she sees his hands clenched into fists. "Sawyer?" His nostrils flare as he inhales deeply, eyes closing for a moment as if in pain. When they open again, they fix on her with predatory intensity. "I can smell you, Rory," he says, voice rough like gravel. "Every emotion, every change in your body, every time your pulse quickens when I'm near." Understanding dawns, heat flooding her cheeks. "You mean you can smell my attraction?" "Yours calls to mine," he admits, taking a step closer despite his earlier warning. "It's been driving me crazy for weeks." The confession sends a thrill down her spine, desire pooling low in her belly. "How do I smell now?" she asks, suddenly breathless. Sawyer moves with startling speed, suddenly right in front of her. He lowers his face to the curve where her neck meets her shoulder, inhaling deeply. "Like heat," he murmurs, the word itself a caress. "And want." His nose traces a path up her throat, making her shiver. "You're like a flame in the darkness. I can't stop breathing you in." His hands come up to frame her face, thumbs stroking her cheekbones with surprising gentleness. "When you're near," he continues, his mouth hovering just above hers, "the wolf wants to claim. Make you smell like mine so every other predator knows you're protected." "There are no other predators here," she reminds him, hands coming up to rest against his chest. A sound rumbles from his chest, half laugh, half growl. "I'm the most dangerous thing on this island, Rory." "Not to me," she counters, bold now with the evidence of his desire so clearly written in every tense line of his body. His thumbs trace her lower lip, eyes following the movement with hungry focus. "I'm not free, Rory," he warns, even as his body presses closer, pinning her against the shelter wall. "I'm being hunted. I've done things." "I don't care." She cuts him off, hands sliding up to cup his face. "I know who you are, Sawyer. I've seen you at your worst and your best. You've saved my life." "That doesn't make me good." You're the only person in this world I trust completely, she insists, meaning every word. Something breaks in his expression, the last barrier of resistance crumbling. Their first kiss isn't a gentle one. His tongue sweeps inside, tasting her deeply as his hands roam her body with urgent need. Rory meets his hunger with her own, weeks of denied desire erupting in a desperate clash of lips and teeth and searching hands. Sawyer lifts her effortlessly, her legs wrapping around his waist as he presses her more firmly against the wall. Are you sure? He asks, a possessive flare in his eyes. In answer, Rory kisses him again, pouring every ounce of desire and certainty into the contact. The heat between them builds, each touch a discovery. Clothing falls away, only the heady power of Sawyer's darkened eyes remaining. You're beautiful, he breathes, reaching for her with reverent hands. They sink to the sand together, a tangle of limbs and urgent touches. Dawn finds them still entwined, the first golden rays of sunlight warming their skin. Rory wakes to the sensation of Sawyer's fingers tracing the curve of her cheek. Morning, she murmurs, stretching languidly against him. He smiles against her lips, and Rory loses herself in the sensation, marveling at how something so good could emerge from disaster, how being stranded could lead to being found in the most unexpected way. That's when she sees it over his shoulder, a glint of metal on the horizon. Unmistakable this time. Sawyer, she gasps, pulling away. There's a boat. He turns, following her gaze. The vessel is distant but clearly visible, its outline distinct against the morning sky. The signal fire, he says, his voice tight with conflicting emotions. We need to light it now. Chapter 10. The signal fire roars, black smoke streaking the clear sky. Rory shields her eyes, heart leaping as the distant boat veers toward them. They've seen us. She turns to Sawyer, exhilaration flooding her veins. He stands rigid beside her, eyes narrowed as he stares at the approaching vessel. The color drains from his face, his body tensing like a predator sensing danger. Sawyer? Rory touches his arm, concerned by his sudden change. He grabs her hand, pulling her away from the fire, back toward the tree line. What's wrong? Rory asks, confused. Once they're out of sight among the trees, Sawyer releases her hand. That's not a rescue boat, he says. That's my pack. Your pack? Rory's heart sinks. Are you sure? Even at this distance, I can smell them. His jaw clenches. If they find me here, they'll force me to go back. Maybe that's not so bad. Rory reaches for him. If I can face Martin, surely you can... You don't understand. Sawyer runs a hand through his hair. There's more to it than I told you. Then tell me now. Sawyer's gaze meets hers, raw with pain and something like shame. My real name is Sawyer Blake. Blake? The name triggers a memory, newspaper headlines, business channels. Wait, Blake Global Holdings? That Blake? He nods grimly. CEO and majority shareholder, or I was until last year. Rory struggles to process this. Sawyer Blake, the billionaire who disappeared amid allegations of financial fraud. You're a fugitive, she realizes aloud. Yes. The boat is getting closer. They don't have much time. Explain, Rory demands, crossing her arms. When my father died, I inherited a company built on corruption, Sawyer says, words tumbling out in his urgency to make her understand. Corner-cutting, environmental violations, all buried in shell companies and offshore accounts. And you knew about this? Not until after I took over. My father kept me in the dark. Bitterness twists his features. When I discovered the truth, I started secretly gathering evidence, planning to clean house without destroying the company. What happened? Camilla happened. His voice softens on the name. She was an environmental lawyer I hired to help navigate the cleanup. We fell in love. The pieces begin to click into place. The woman you called for when you were feverish. Yes. We were going to expose everything together. Rebuild Thorn Global as something better. Then I made a decision that cost her everything. The distant boat engine grows louder. Sawyer glances toward the beach, then continues, speaking faster now. The board discovered what we were planning. They came to me with an ultimatum: drop the investigation or they'd release information about the pack, expose our existence to the world. You chose to protect your pack, Rory guesses. I chose wrong. Self-loathing saturates his voice. I told Camilla we needed to back off, find another way. She didn't agree. His eyes close briefly, the memory clearly agonizing. 2 days later, her car went off a cliff. Brake failure, they called it. The police found nothing suspicious. But you knew better, Rory whispers, horrified. I knew who was responsible, my own board members, willing to kill to keep their secrets safe. Rage flashes in his eyes, briefly turning them fully golden. The same night, they framed me for the very crimes I was trying to expose. By morning, federal agents were at my door with a warrant. So you ran? Yes. His shoulders slump slightly. My PAC's counsel ordered me to turn myself in, face trial, said we couldn't risk exposure. I refused. That's why they're hunting you, Rory realizes. Not just the authorities, but your own PAC. Sawyer nods grimly. In their eyes, I've endangered everyone by remaining free. A fugitive shifter draws too much attention. The boat engine cuts off. They've reached the shallows. Rory. Sawyer takes her hands, his expression desperate. I can't go back, not to a PAC that would sacrifice justice for safety. What about clearing your name? She asks. Finishing what you and Camilla started? All the evidence is gone. Shouting comes from the beach, voices calling, searching. Tell them I died, Sawyer says. The words rushed out, urgent and desperate. You want me to lie? Rory whispers. It's the only way. But we'd be separated, she protests. After everything... Rory, my life was over long before I came to this island, Sawyer says. Don't say that. It's the truth. His voice is flat, devoid of hope. What happened to Camilla was my fault. I don't get to just start over. But you deserve... I deserve this, he cuts her off, gesturing to the wild island around them. Just survival. The resignation in his voice breaks Rory's heart. It's better this way, for everyone. His hand moves to rest on her stomach. Especially for you and the baby. Those men killed Camilla without hesitation. They wouldn't spare you. I can't just leave you here, Rory protests, her voice breaking. What about your future? Sawyer gives a small, humorless laugh. I'm a fugitive shifter with enemies in both human and PAC worlds. There is no future for me out there. He looks toward the beach where voices grow closer. I'll hide deeper in the jungle, mask my scent. But I need your help, Rory. The impossible choice looms before her. Leave the man she loves behind, or risk her child's well-being on a fight they cannot win. I can't bear the thought of never seeing you again, she whispers, her hand covering his where it rests on her stomach. It's better this way. You go back to your world, build a life for your child. And He glances around at the wild jungle. This is my home now, my penance. Sawyer, promise me you won't look back, he interrupts, his eyes intense. Don't waste your life thinking about me. Footsteps approach through the undergrowth. They're almost out of time. Okay, Rory agrees, tears spilling down her cheeks, though the promise feels like acid on her tongue. I'll do it. Relief floods Sawyer's expression. He pulls her close, his kiss desperate and tender all at once, a goodbye with no promise of reunion. Thank you, he whispers against her lips, for making these last weeks worth living. Before she can respond, he's gone, disappearing into the dense jungle with preternatural speed and silence. Rory wipes her tears, forcing her expression into one of relief and exhaustion as she steps back toward the beach. The performance of her life is about to begin. Three men emerge at the edge of the trees, tall and sharp-eyed, their presence unmistakably predatory. It's the right choice, the only choice for her child. But as the boat pulls away from the island, taking her back to civilization while leaving her heart behind, Rory has never felt more adrift. They search her face for cracks, but find only grief. She holds their gaze, steady and quiet, while inside her, something shatters. It feels like mourning a man who isn't dead, a goodbye she can never take back. Find me, she thinks desperately, hoping somehow he can sense her thoughts across the growing distance. Find me again. Epilogue, 2 years later. Rory rocks gently in a second-hand chair, her daughter cradled against her chest. Rain taps softly at the apartment window, a soothing backdrop to the lullaby she hums. Her baby is 15 months old, with Martin's hazel eyes and dark hair, but the fierce little spirit belongs to someone else entirely. There we go, she whispers as her daughter's lashes settle on her cheeks. Carefully, Rory rises and lays her in the crib, smoothing a hand over wild curls. Coming back had been harder than expected. The media storm, resort guest survives months on deserted island, lasted for weeks. Reporters pressed for details she couldn't give. Her story held, but the scrutiny wore her down. Martin showed up at the hospital, all smiles for the cameras. Off-screen, the mask dropped. You can't seriously be keeping it, he hissed, eyes on her belly. Think about your figure, your career. Think about me. I'm not ready to be a father. Rory laughed, genuinely. After what she'd survived, his selfishness felt laughable. There is no us anymore, Martin, she said. And this baby isn't yours in any way that matters. His face twisted. You cheated on me? On that island? With who? She hadn't bothered explaining. Biologically, the baby was his, but Sawyer had been the one to protect, cherish, and fight for them both. Goodbye, Martin. Don't contact me again. He hadn't, aside from signing away his parental rights, a final act meant as punishment, but one Rory accepted as a gift. She checks the monitor, then returns to the living room. After finishing her degree, she found a job teaching swimming at a private school. The hours suit Camilla's needs. Their housing is modest, but enough. It's a good life, quiet, steady. Only late at night does she let herself remember golden eyes, gentle hands, a voice that once spoke to her soul in 2 languages, man and wolf. She's never told anyone the truth, not about the wolf, not about Sawyer. A sharp knock at the door startles her. She glances at the clock. Midnight. Another knock, more urgent. She peers through the peephole, and her heart stops. With trembling hands, she opens the door just enough to confirm what she barely dares hope. He's thinner. His hair is longer, but it's him. Sawyer. Sawyer? She breathes. He looks different in jeans and a button-down, but his eyes, warm brown with hints of gold, are exactly the same. Hello, Rory? His voice cracks something open inside her. Tears blur her vision, emotions crashing over her, joy, fury, disbelief. You're alive, she says, fists clenched to keep from reaching for him. How did you find me? A ghost of a smile. I told you once that I could find you anywhere. But you said... She stops, remembering his goodbye. What happened? Why are you here? I turned myself in. What? 6 months after you left, I signaled a ship. Went back willingly to face the charges. His smile is rueful. Turns out someone was building a case against the board. They needed my testimony. But the evidence... Most of it was gone, but Camilla, she had backups, smarter than any of us knew. So you're free, completely? He nods. As of 3 weeks ago, the real criminals are behind bars. My name is cleared. Why now? She asks, the real question behind her words hanging unspoken. Why come back to me? He steps closer. Because I lied to you, Rory. When I said my life was over. When I said to forget me. Another step. I was trying to make it easier for you. He's close now, close enough for her to breathe him in. And now, she whispers, now I'm here to tell you the truth. His voice lowers. I never stopped thinking about you, not for a single day. If you've moved on, I'll understand, but I had to see you, had to know if there's a chance. A cry from the baby monitor cuts through the silence. Sawyer stiffens. His gaze shifts toward the sound, then quietly, the baby. Rory nods. My daughter, I should... He steps back. Of course. She returns moments later, daughter in arms. Sawyer hasn't moved. He stares at the child, awe and uncertainty battling in his expression. Rory steps closer, tilting the baby toward him. This is Camilla. Sawyer inhales sharply. You named her... After someone important to you, Rory says, to honor what we shared. Emotion ripples through him, raw and visible. Camilla, he whispers. Rory repeats gently. Camilla, this is Sawyer. He's... Someone who has waited a very long time to meet you, he finishes. He reaches out, pauses, then glances at Rory. She nods. Gently, he touches Camilla's hand. Her fingers curl around his. She's wonderful, he says, voice hushed, like her mother. Rory's tears spill. I never thought I'd see you again. I know. He brushes a tear from her cheek. I thought staying away was right. And now? Now I think we've both suffered enough. He cups her face. If you'll have me, if you're willing, I want to be part of your lives. Both of your lives. Rory leans forward, careful of the child between them, and kisses him. Soft. Sure. A beginning. You're here now, she says. That's what matters. Outside, the rain falls steady. Inside, 3 lives begin the quiet work of becoming one. Thank you so much for watching. As you may or may not know, YouTube has demonetized my channel, and sadly, that means I'm currently writing and producing these stories with no revenue at all. No ads, no income, nothing. I'm doing everything I can to get remonetized, but until then, I really need your help. If you enjoyed this story and would like the channel to keep going, please consider donating $1 or more using the link in the description or the pinned comment below. Every single dollar counts more than you know. To those of you who've already donated, thank you for your generosity. You're the reason I'm still going, mentally and technically. You're amazing, and I'm going to keep fighting to keep this little library alive and free. But I can't do it alone. Thank you.